Jane Goodall once said, "You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." My name is Miss Elliott, and I'm on a quest to find people who are changing the world. People who use their passions, their talents, and their expertise to develop products and services that are changing the world. I'm heading to New Zealand, Australia, and the Philippines to find these social entrepreneurs. This is my journey on becoming a change maker.
Today's it. Today's the day. Day one. Operation Get Me to the Airport. Will I get there on time? I don't know. My parents are ringing me. So who knows what could go wrong. And yeah, then I hop on a 20-hour flight. You know, just a typical day in my life. Just flying across the world, trying to randomly interview people. So I'm so excited for you to join me. And I will see you in Auckland, New Zealand. So you get off a 22-hour flight, and guess what? You gotta drive on the other side of the road. Here's my passenger. Here's my GoPro just in case I film. I need to film my death. But
even though I made it to Auckland, New Zealand, I still had quite a ways. I had to drive all the way from the north of the island to the south to Wellington. So on my way, I decided to explore and see all the beautiful sights that New Zealand had to offer.
So today is day 3 and I am so pumped. I am actually visiting the Hobbit houses from Lord of the Rings as well as The Hobbit, and it's where they filmed everything, but the scenery is unreal and the drive was so cool. So I hope you really enjoy today, and I'm gonna just show you some scenery now. Like, it literally doesn't get any better than this. So today is day 6 and I'm in Wellington and I'm exploring. Tomorrow I'm meeting with my first social entrepreneur, and I'm very excited, and I hope you enjoy this lovely day in Wellington, but I'm gonna just show you around the bay. And Justin Bieber is playing. I repeat, Justin Bieber is playing. Maybe he's here. I'm hoping he's here. So today is day 7. I will be meeting with Guy Ryan today, and based on some conversations that I've had with people around town, I also found out that there is this other social enterprise called Co-Liberate. And Co-Liberate, their social focus is mental health. And so they actually have worked with Guy Ryan, and I'm going to be speaking with 1 or 2 or 3 of the women who started it, and it's almost like a gym membership for mental health, and they set up classes and kind of break down the stigma of people who, you know, suffer from depression or anxiety, and I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot more. But I'm very excited. I have not heard of a social enterprise yet through my studies on mental health. So I'm very excited for this, and I'm hoping that I can kind of get a look and see, and maybe actually participate in some of their workshops. So
I was told to go to this place called the Biz Dojo, which is actually a space where entrepreneurs collaborate.
I'm Sierra, and I work for, I'm a co-founder of Collaborate. So I've got two other co-founders, Jodie and Bob, who are here today. Together we have made Collaborate, which essentially is an organisation which enables you to prioritise your mental health. We recently did a TEDx talk about creating an equivalent of gym culture for mental health. So at the moment we're looking at how we can create mental health gyms, and I say looking at, we are doing it. Mm-hmm. We do have a studio in town, so it's a place that you can come in, you can exercise your mind essentially. I actually just printed up these posters which have been sent to us from our designers, and they're just so
I
funny.
love that.
Look at that.
I know, it's like perfect.
Yeah, a gym for your mind. Your brain's like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah.
So how did you come up with this concept? Like, why is mental health so important to the three of you?
Well, it's just important. We all have mental health. So there's stuff happening. But we were like, actually, what we need is a solution that's, we can't keep waiting on people to make decisions, and we can't keep on waiting for funding, and we need a solution that's people-led and which people can do themselves. Because one of the biggest things is we're like, oh, there's this problem in society, and we keep hearing about the problem, and we keep being like, what are we going to do about it? And then there's like a general sense of hopelessness, because you're like even with climate change and being like, climate change is such a big thing, but I just don't know how to help. Like, me being a vegetarian is not enough to do this thing. It's like a general sense of hopelessness, and it's like, really, with mental health, we really need to create a hopeful solution, and like be hopeful about it, and be like, it's going to be okay. So we really encourage this positive, it's going to be okay stance by creating we just believe that the way to do this is by getting us to value our mental and emotional health as much as our physical health. So over here, we've got our community space. So this is where people can come along to, essentially it's like a gym for your mind. So this is where people can come along, and we run 1 hour long facilitated wellbeing sessions. And they're all with a backbone of mindfulness and like creativity. So there's mindfulness with play, it's like an hour long, and you kind of meditate in, and then you get to like just, because mindfulness is hard if you don't practice it, so it's like an easy way in to keep your hands busy, keep your brain still for a while. And then we have a wellness wānanga, which is like a talk circle where you share your experiences based on our theme of the week.
Hi, my name is Guy. I live in New Zealand. I run an organisation called Inspiring Stories, which has a big, bold vision to see every young New Zealander unleash their potential to change the world. So at the time, it was when I was at university, and we had a visiting lecturer from the United States, Bill McKibben, who was one of the founders of 350.org, looking at the impacts of climate change on humanity, our world. And I guess hearing about that, I just became, I felt sick, like the fact that a lot of our leaders had known about this thing, climate change, for so long and done so little about it. As a young person, I just felt incredibly frustrated. Like, here's this massive challenge that has profound implications for our future and how we will live, yet there wasn't really being any real leadership taken on it. And so I was studying commerce, business, design. I was really interested in entrepreneurship and how do you leverage the tools of business to create, ideally, better social and environmental outcomes that can help to tackle some of these big issues of our time.
Tell me more about what you do currently. Like, what kind of programming do you do, and kind of your success, I would say.
Yeah. So the organisation that I run day to day, Inspiring Stories, we run a range of different programs and partnerships that work with a pretty diverse range of young people, mostly 16 to 25-year-olds, to build their social entrepreneurship and leadership capability and their ideas to make a difference. So we run a big national event called Festival for the Future, which is in 2 weeks' time, which will bring together this year about 1,200 young movers and shakers from right across the country. We run what we call an accelerator program, which supports young social entrepreneurs to develop their ventures, product, service, business model, getting that to market. And then we run a program in more rural and provincial areas in some of the more kind of challenged, lower socioeconomic communities across New Zealand called Future Leaders.
What's some advice that you maybe have learned and or that you have yourself for people that want to make a livelihood in that kind of enterprise?
Yeah. So I think maybe the first thing to say is that social enterprise, or the potential of social enterprise, this idea that you can build a company that makes money and makes a significant social or environmental impact, is possible. You know, it's not just this big ideal, actually it's something that is practically possible. At the same time, it's incredibly hard work. You know, even just running a purely commercial business without thinking too much about the social or environmental impacts is hard. You know, like 90% plus of startups fail within the first 3 years. I would say that trying to get a social enterprise off the ground is even harder than that. So just, you know, the harsh commercial realities of something. I think in order for it to work, it has to be, you know, there has to be a really high quality product or service that actually meets a real market need. So is this product or service something that people actually want to buy and see value of? And I think first and foremost it needs to be a really top-notch product or service. And then secondary is the social and environmental impact piece. So, you know, if you look at some of the trends around the world, consumers are caring more about where they spend their dollars. You know, if you can choose to buy a particular product or a service from this organisation that has an awesome product or service, or from this organisation, and the two are quite parallel in terms of, you know, what the benefits of that particular product or service is, but one of them has a whole lot of additional social or environmental benefits or cares more about the impacts that it's creating, then consumers are caring more and more about how they vote with their dollar to choose. That was a really long-winded answer. So.
No, it's fine. I think you hit something that I stress to my students too. If you didn't want to start a social entrepreneurship and, you know, purchase power, we have the ability to make conscientious decisions with everything we buy.
Totally.
And so if my students don't want to become, you know, entrepreneurs, they still they're consumers of products.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for them to kind of know what they're buying and...
Yeah, you know, I think there's different ways that we as young people can make change and make a difference in the world. I think one of those is how we spend our time, you know, whether we're volunteering for organisations, whether we're working for organisations that align with our values and create some kind of difference socially or environmentally. You know, simple things like advocating in the workplace for gender equality or fair trade organic coffee, or, you know, there's all sorts of ways that even in the organisation that you work for, you can advocate to make a change. The purchasing decisions that we make, you know, the clothes that we buy, the food that we buy, can we try and purchase stuff that's based on good, ethical, fair trade, organic principles, and actually those products and services, and part of making them, actually treat people fairly with respect and dignity.
I was told the next place I should go is this shipping container that happens to be a coffee shop called Stories. It was here that I would meet Kirk.
My name is Kirk. I manage Stories in Georgia, which are our two social enterprise cafes. We started about 2.5 years ago now, when a guy named Scott decided that this would be a great idea for young people to establish a place where we could give them training in their first opportunity of employment, to then help them get into jobs and things like that, and give them skill sets which other people might not take a risk on young people. So he shoulder tapped me and I was silly enough to say yes, and here we are, and it's been pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Behind this, there's this organization called Zeal. So what does Zeal do?
Okay, so Zeal is a organisation that works with young people. It's basically, it does lots of work in terms of creative aspects, so whether it be music or photography or art spaces, barista, design, it's basically all sorts of these things. So like Zeal slogan is basically, our goal is to impact every young New Zealander through creativity. When there's so much pressure to be certain things in cultures, whether it's to excel well in school and go to university and get a high-paying job, whether that pressure comes down from your parents or if all those sorts of social pressures and whatnot. I think Zeal was a place, it was like a refuge where people can come and just be who they are and be comfortable and be loved and accepted. Yeah. So whilst it's given me a lot, it's also put out this sort of high challenge to then give back as well. And so I guess here I am now working for Zeal and then helping to train other young people and give those young people sort of courage and support and all of that as well. So it's the sort of thing which also expected a lot out of me, but not necessarily in the conventional sense. And so I think it's also challenged me to be the best version of me I can be as well, and I think that's a real sort of special combination of just taking people in totally as they are, but also kind of helping to shape people in really, really awesome ways.
New Zealand showed me that social entrepreneurs are so interconnected and that they're really supportive of one another and they all just want to do good. It made me wonder that if we all just used our talents and our skills and our passions to do good, that we could change this world for the better. My next stop was a plane ride away.
I'll give you one clue where I'm at. I'm down under. The dingo did not eat your baby, and there's no shrimp on the barbie. It's my best Australian accent.
That's right, I made it to Sydney, Australia. It was here that I would see my next social enterprise, called the Seat Project. More than just a bamboo seat, I would learn so much more from the people who created it, designed it, and the students who participated in it.
What is your name?
Krista Sylvia, and I'm the National Project Manager for the Seat Project.
And can you explain what the Seat Project is?
Yes. Seat Project is an integrated transdisciplinary unit of work for schools. It's curriculum based, so that means that I guess teachers are quite busy doing all the things that they need to do. So Seat Project aligns directly with the curriculum so that teachers do not need to create extracurricular time for the Seat Project. Seat Project allows students to see that they can be quite powerful contributors in the world and see that they can make a difference. I guess it allows them to see that they can actually, they already have the tools that they need in order to make a difference in the world. So a lady by the name of Justine Lind developed the curriculum around an idea that was developed by a young Australian student out of New South Wales Uni. And her name is Nikki Bernardos, the designer of the seat.
What makes the seat kind of unique in terms of its production, and then how does it get from production to the schools?
So from what I know, Nikki and the original team, the original Seat Project team, found a factory in Vietnam that suited the sustainable briefing vision that Nikki saw behind her design, where she wanted to make a difference in a community. And bamboo grows quite readily in Australia. It would have been a lot easier to manufacture the seats in Australia and run the project out of Australia, but she saw that she could help others in a rural community in Vietnam. 90-something% of the women, of the workers in the factory are women, so they were in unpaid work prior to their factory jobs. There are some very strong messages in the project that speak to children about, for example, their gifts and talents and how they can use them to make a difference in the world. I guess a lot of people see our project as a giving project, but I always ask, how do you know what you can give if you don't know what you have? So looking at yourself as a unique person with individual talents and gifts that can then be shared with other children with different unique gifts and talents, and when you're collaborating with other students like that, you all can bring something different to the table, and therefore you can all help each other to create that powerful change that you're looking to do.
Hey, I'm Nikki Bañadas, and I'm a graphic designer.
And what's your connection with the SEAT project?
The SEAT project, I designed the SEAT.
Okay, and what inspired you to design this SEAT?
I wanted to make a product that I knew might go places. And Virginia was offering a brief where the support would be provided for that to happen. I designed the SEAT because it's something that everyone uses, and I wanted a product that was easily accessible. And the SEAT is designed specifically so that someone could make it, the user could make it their own.
What makes it sustainable? Because that's a word that I keep hearing over and over. So sustainability.
Sustainability, people usually think of sustainability just in terms of environmental sustainability. In that way, it is, in that it's made of bamboo, which grows really quickly. But it's also socially sustainable in that it's making a positive impact for the manufacturers, and it's teaching children about how they can make a positive impact as well. And then financial sustainability is also important to keep the project going.
What would be your best advice that maybe someone's given you or that you have within you?
A lot of people tend to focus on what they think they're good at or their talents, but it's actually mostly hard work. There's always going to be someone who's better than you or not as good as you, and it doesn't matter where you lie on this scale. You just need to do the hard work and do the best you can, because that is the thing that gets you places.
That was beautifully said.
I'm Ella, a Year 4 student at Roseville Public School. On the first lesson of the SEAT project, I learned about having teamwork with other people.
Hi, I'm Beck Hummel from Roseville Public School, and I'm in Year 4. From the start of the SEAT project, I think it's changed me a little bit, and I've learned all about how just one girl had made a butterfly effect on the rest of the world.
What have you learned during the SEAT project?
So far, I've learned how to work together, how everyone on one side of the world, they can help everyone on the other side of the world. So it's just like one man for everyone and everyone for one man. That same relationship. Yeah.
My next stop was Oxley College.
So my name's Justine Lind, and I happen to be the lucky person who is the head of K-6 at Oxley College, which is a school in Australia in the Southern Highlands, about an hour and a half south of, or southwest really, of Sydney.
And can you tell me what your experience has been with the SEAT project?
So it was a really lovely experience of happenstance. I was in this gorgeous shop in Sydney, in Woolloomooloo, and was looking at the SEAT and thinking about how it might fit into a school context. And I understood from the person working in the shop that they had made the product, arranged to have the product made, and that they were thinking of writing a school program, a program for schools. And so in a very unhumble, unphilanthropic way, I thought that they shouldn't write a kind of generic, low-level, prescriptive, content-based unit, and I arrogantly thought that I might help to make something a little bit more interesting.
Jonathan Hunt, I'm a classroom teacher, Year 5 classroom teacher, but I'm also a coordinator at Oxley College, where we are.
Okay, well, awesome. And can you tell me what your experience has been with the SEAT project?
So Justine, who's our head of Code 6, she brought the SEAT project to us. However, we're looking for a vehicle to combine leadership of our Year 5 and our Year 6 students, our oldest students in primary school in Australia, to combine that with the education of how they can make the world a better place. So that's where SEAT works so well, and we saw that as a perfect vehicle for our students to have leadership outcomes along with a peer support style education, which is where we have our older students leading our younger students in some of those difficult social emotional skills, and along with this idea of how can we contribute to help the world.
And can you tell me how it's impacted then your students?
So when I just took 6 students away to have them showcase what we're doing, when you really listen to what they're saying, you see that there's so much more going on that I think is so difficult to measure. You know, this whole idea of success is so difficult to see when you can't be exactly inside a student's head. However, from that small snapshot, I think our impact is going to be enormous because we're only a part way through the process. I think that our students are going to be change agents because they are empowered, they're inspired, and they're equipped at the same time to know how they can make a difference. And that's where a project like this in itself is just a trampoline to bigger things. So who knows what they're going to do in the future, but I guess we'll cross that bridge at some stage.
I'm Evie Crowley and I'm in Year 5 at Oxley College.
And what have you learned about during the SEAT project?
Well, I've learned so many things. I mean, I barely knew the people in my family group when we started. And it's just been this journey from going, hi, I know your name's Barnaby, to, hi Barnaby, I know you like sport.
Yeah.
And so it's just been this brilliant journey through learning everything about my family group and SEAT project and everything in between. And it's just been brilliant.
And so have you gotten to the point where you are doing a project for like the butterfly effect, that you're actually going to be helping other people?
Yeah, we are.
So what are you doing?
Well, we haven't thought about that yet.
Okay.
But we're looking at charities and things like that that we can then donate the money from the money from SEAT that we've sold, and then we'll give it to them, and then it'll help so many people.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm Rusty Waters. I attend Oxley College and I'm in Year 5.
And my name is Dylan Davis. I attend Oxley College as well and I'm in Year 5.
And what have you learned about during the SEAT project?
I really enjoy leading the kids, and we get to know each other and we create our own activities and we get a real sense of what it's like to be in kind of the business world and the adult world. And I just really love at what we're going to do. We can give to other people and we can be really nice.
My name is Hunter and I go to Oxley and I'm in Year 5.
Okay, and what have you learned about during the SEAT project?
I've learned that the SEAT project is a great way for people to make new friends, and it helps the community out by fundraising and giving you money that you sell the SEAT by to a good cause.
And what kind of cause are you thinking about potentially giving to?
We're thinking about giving it to sick kids in hospital.
Oh, very good. Thank you. After spending 3 days with the SEAT project, it was time to move on to my next Australian city. So today is day 10 or maybe 11 or 12 or 13 or 14 or 15. I am currently in Brisbane, Australia, and today I had the pleasure of meeting Lisa Clark, and she was fantastic. She showed me a product called Backpacks for Homeless, and I was so excited to meet her and kind of find out the rationale behind it.
introduce your name and your product.
Okay. My name's Lisa Clark. I'm from the national charity Backpack Bed for Homeless, and this is a backpack bed that's given to street sleeping homeless people that don't have shelter.
And you kind of explained what your product does, but can you give me more background about how this product was started?
So my husband came home from church one day and said, we're going to give beds to homeless people. My first reaction was that he was totally crazy and mad, but here we are, over 10 years later. And I guess really what we discovered after that first initial idea was that there were people who didn't have shelter for whatever reason and were getting sick. So there's stats out there that show across Australia that up to 21% of the people on the streets have had illnesses like hypothermia, frostbite, trench foot, which are all illnesses you only get because you're cold and you're wet. And the other thing that we noticed, or that we learned through studies, etc., was that people they really get stuck in that survival mode. And so if you're having to worry every day about, am I going to find some cardboard to sleep on? Where am I going to find that cardboard? How should I look for it? And then when I find some cardboard, where am I going to store it so that maybe it'll be here the next night? Then your mind, your focus of your life, gets caught up in that surviving. And so really it was about providing people with that basic need of a portable shelter that would keep them dry, that would give them better sleep, that would give them some improvements to their health by keeping them dry and warm, give them some dignity in terms of it being a new and a product that met their needs, and keeping them safe and all of those aspects as well.
And can you tell me what sets your product apart from maybe other products?
So what we found in Australia especially was that traditionally people gave blankets, and at winter time there'd be these big blanket drives of, hey, we're collecting blankets for homeless people. But when your body is wet, you actually lose body heat up to 25 times faster. So those people were still getting illnesses like your hypothermias and frostbites because the blankets weren't doing their job. When you talk to homeless people, they also tell you that if I've got a blanket and it gets dirty and it gets wet, then I throw it away. So some of them were saying, I have to literally go and ask for more blankets every single day in the winter time. So it just, I guess, didn't make sense to continue, providing blankets when they weren't solving that piece of the puzzle. But the benefit of something like the backpack bed is there's actually enough extra room in there so that when people do get blankets and other forms of bedding, they can actually keep them in here, keeping them dry and keeping them clean, and therefore extending the life of those blankets as well.
How many homeless people have actually received your bags? How many people have you helped?
Yeah, so we've helped, it's over 24,000 people in Australia so far. I believe in the US it's around the 1,000 mark, and there's been a few other countries where there's been backpack beds distributed to homeless people. In terms of the number of people on the street though, every year in Australia, the government statistics show that there's about 105,000 homeless people on any given night. Some of them are sleeping on the streets, about 6,700 people. But over a 12-month period, that's multiplied by 6. So that means about 40,878 homeless people across Australia will sleep outside at some point every year. So we're still only meeting about 10% of that target each year in terms of our distribution.
And though 10% sounds small, I think it's kind of important that something's being done. So what kind of advice do you have for my students who feel that maybe a small idea is not good enough, or that they really can't make change?
I think when you just look at it on an individual basis and you know, some of the homeless people that I've met that have received a backpack bed, and when you have them express their gratitude or explain how it's helped them, then, you know, you realize that that's multiplied obviously by, you know, quite a few of the people that have received a backpack bed. But to even just make a difference to one person, you know, is such a huge difference to that individual and potentially could transform their life. So I guess nothing really is too small in terms of that.
And any advice that you would have for any of my students who would like to pursue a life of social entrepreneurship?
I think just give it a go. You know, I never expected that this is what I would be doing. I guess, you know, you maybe have your life mapped out and things that you plan to be doing, and certainly with my husband and I, you know, designing this backpack bed and helping homeless people, it perhaps wasn't something I thought I'd be doing, but I can't think of doing anything else now. You know, I could walk away from this.
Lisa Clark had such good advice for my students, mainly that if you see an issue or a social injustice, you can do something crazy and actually solve it. I ended my time in Brisbane hugging koalas and hanging out with some kangaroos. My next stop was Cairns, in the northern part of Australia. It was here that I wanted to see the Great Barrier Reef with my own eyes.
I will not be afraid to kiss the lips that send me in orbit. You send me.
My time in Australia ended. My next stop was Manila, Philippines.
I'm Jim Ayala. I'm here in the Philippines and I work with Hybrid Social Solutions, which is a social enterprise.
And can you explain exactly what your business does?
So Hybrid's mission is to empower rural and marginalized communities in the Philippines. And we help about 20 million Filipinos who don't have access to proper electricity.
And what kind of products do you provide for people?
So we provide the full range of needs of rural folks when it comes to some things that need to be powered by electricity. So we have small portable reading lights, and so this is an example. You've got a solar panel that connects to the system and that charges it, so it's got a battery inside. It's got different light settings. And this particular one actually has a radio.
Nice.
So our customers love that. And it can also charge your phone. So it's got a little USB slot here below. Let me just turn this down. And if I plug it here, then you see that my phone's charging.
Nice.
So I've got lighting, phone charging, and a little bit of music.
Which is a great product.
So those are our simple products. We also have larger products that can where you attach things to your home, so that when you walk in the home, you've got a light switch. Hit the switch, you have lights attached to the ceiling, so your whole house would be illuminated. We also have livelihood products for our customers. Our customers would be fishermen. So for example, they need an ice machine to make ice so that they can store their fish. You also have farmers who use our irrigation pumps in order to irrigate their crops. So we have a number of different livelihood products. And we have products for schools and clinics where we can not just light up the school, but you also have a sound system that you can use, and you can also have computer rooms. Or in a clinic, especially a birthing center, you have surgical lights, and you have equipment like a fetal Doppler that allows you to monitor the health of the baby and the mother during delivery. we were figuring out how can we help people in rural areas, and what's one of the areas that can make a really big difference. We noticed that most of our customers had a lot of challenges, whether it's with daily living or with their business or with school or clinics, because they just didn't have electricity. And without electricity, life is difficult, schooling is constrained, and livelihood is constrained. And so we realized that when you don't have energy, it's a form of poverty. And so we're trying to enable people to have energy so they can then have better lives and better education and better prospects for the future. So in our context, most of our customers don't have electricity at all. And so they don't have the option of plugging things into the wall because their homes and their communities are not connected. So what they tend to use for lighting would be candles or kerosene lights. If you want to run a radio, you would have to buy like dry cell batteries, like AA or C batteries. If somebody had a little bit more money or it's a bigger facility like a clinic, then they would run a generator in order to have electricity. The thing is, these solutions are very expensive. So imagine every time you turn on the light, you need to spend money for kerosene. Or imagine every time you wanted to use your radio, you'd have to buy new batteries. And you guys all know how expensive batteries are. And batteries cost $4,000, 4,000 times more than using regular electricity. So when you buy a battery, you're actually buying electricity. And that electricity in a battery is 4,000 times more than your electric utility. So it's expensive, but it's also dirty. Imagine using kerosene all the time. It's very smoky, so you end up coughing a lot. And of course, it's dangerous. We have many fires here because somebody knocked over a kerosene lamp or a candle.
What could you suggest to my students who see a real need and want to start in the business world?
Okay, so I think it's really fantastic that a lot of people are interested in solving, the problems of the world. I'm focused on solving energy poverty, but equally there are many, many other issues that can be solved. What we've found, what I've found over time in all my experience in business and development and charities, is that in order to really solve the problem in a systemic way, in a long-term way, you need to make sure that whatever you do, that it's going to be sustainable. The problem that we've seen with solar around the world over the last decade is you have a lot of donations, but if it's just donated and people are not trained how to use it, or if you have poor quality lights, then it breaks pretty quickly, and then pretty soon people are back to candles. And so I would say, think a lot about, if you solve a problem, is it just the initial instance of them getting solar or whatever product you're doing, or is it something where they can have it for a long time? So I tend to favor a business-oriented approach, and so that's why we call ourselves a social enterprise or a social business, because when people get access to it by purchasing it, we also have training and a service network in place, and that can only survive if we have revenue coming in to sustain them.
And that's called empowerment in a way.
So that's the sustainability part, and then at the same time, when we engage with the people we're working with, we work with them where they're empowered to take steps on their own in order to get out of poverty. So we give them that hand up, where they have the equipment so that they can use it for their livelihood. Once our customers have this, they're saving about $10 a month, they're earning about $40 a month extra. Their education, they're able to study longer, they're able to save, be safer because you have less risk of fire, you cough less. So there's a lot of benefits once they get this, and so that empowers them. But once they lose it, if you don't have a sustainable arrangement, then it breaks, and then you're back to using candles. So we want to have something sustainable that lasts a long time. Equally, we want to work with people where they learn how to take steps to solve their problems.
And what's one thing that my students can do to just help the whole energy poverty issue? What is something they can do right now?
Well, if you're in Connecticut and in a school setting, we have programs with partners like We Care Solar out of Berkeley, where we have schools who actually buy kits and assemble solar systems that are then shipped to us, and then we deploy them in unelectrified schools in the Philippines. There are 8,000 unelectrified schools here, and we really need more suitcases to come in so we can deploy them to these schools.
My next entrepreneur was Brian McClelland. Here's a fun fact. Brian grew up in Connecticut. Brian actually had many businesses, including BAM Bike Eco Tours, the Philippine Arson Trade, BAM Bow Ties, BAM Sunglasses, and he also had a bar. Can you state your name and your product?
My name is Brian Benitez McClellan, and I'm the founder of BAM Bike. We produce bamboo bicycles.
And besides producing the bicycles, are you doing any other businesses besides that?
Well, so aside from manufacturing, we also run BAM Bike Eco Tours. So it's a guided bicycle tour throughout different parts of the Philippines.
And what separates your product and service from others?
So the bicycle is a bicycle, but the frame is made out of bamboo. It's handcrafted, and it's part of a social enterprise that works on sustainable livelihood development, meaning we work with poor communities in the rural parts of the Philippines that desperately need jobs. So we went into these villages and trained people how to manufacture the bikes, and then part of the proceeds from every bike sale and from every tour get reinvested into the communities through fair wages, so fair trade. We have a feeding program, we have a academic program, so we're sponsoring the school teacher, and then we help with scholarships for our employees. So we're trying to really focus on our core principles and value systems that focus on people, planet, progress.
And why is sustainability so important to you?
Well, I guess if we don't really think about a sustainable future, we're all screwed, right?
And what's a piece of advice you have for a student that maybe would like to pursue social enterprise as their future?
I think that it's really important to firstly get to know yourself and what matters to you, and I think that can be done through exploring your curiosities. So I would encourage you to really chase down the things that you're curious about, or if you see problems in the world, kind of learn more about them, or think about problems in your own life. And you can identify challenges that can turn into opportunities. And then if you really feel strongly about some of these things, if your curiosity drives you down this path to learn more and more and more, you might be able to come up with solutions that can be turned into business models. So I wouldn't say that you should do something, or there's a lot of people that give advice saying follow your passion. But that's an almost impossible thing to do as a young person, especially a high schooler, and you're still learning about yourself. What do you like? What do you want to do with your life? What kind of college do I want to go to? What should my major be? I mean, these are all things that I didn't make these decisions until the last possible moment I could, because then you're armed with more information. So I would say arm yourselves with more information about your own interests, and that will help guide your path forward. And just being conscious about how what you do affects other people, how it affects the planet, and if it can be turned into a profitable business that can really affect change, you're onto something. So really pursue your curiosities, and that will eventually lead you to what you're passionate about. And then if you can identify what your purpose is in life, you're off to a great start. So be patient with it, but be persistent. And I think that, you know, it's young people with new ideas that are gonna change the world and, you know, help combat climate change, help adapt to, you know, this new technological and environmentally sensitive world that we're in. There's so many challenges, but so many opportunities. So figuring out how you fit into that puzzle is a lifelong goal. So, you know, I'm still working on it, but just keep chipping away, and yeah, you are the future.
I am so excited because I am finally not going to be alone no more. My cousin Alicia's coming. It's bright and early.
So, Alicia, where are we?
We are in Tigamon. Is that what it's called?
Tigman?
Tigman?
And
Let's redo that one.
And where exactly is Tigman? Where is this located?
This is in Palawan, Philippines.
Okay. And what are we doing here in this beautiful tropical location?
Learn about the culture and do some volunteering.
Okay.
And I think we're going to teach kindergarten and possibly do environmental, which is pretty much
do
cleaning
everything?
up.
I heard we're farming tomorrow in a vegetable
I know,
garden.
That sounded cool actually, but then when we get there we'll be like,
welcome to my home, MTV Crib style. This is where I celebrate life, and I have my coconut trees. I have my guest house as well as my regular house. We have a TV dish, but we actually don't have TV. Besides finding the coolest social entrepreneurs in this part of the world, I also was on a quest to find what I was passionate about. And it just so happens that volunteering as well as education is really important to me. So I'm so sad to leave the comforts of this room and the comforts of this spider. What the heck?
Hope when you take that jump, you don't fear the fall. Hope when the water rises, you build a wall. Hope when the crowd screams out, they're screaming your name. Hope if everybody runs, you choose to stay. Hope that you fall in love and it hurts so bad. The only way you can know is give it all you have. And I hope that you don't suffer, but take the pain. Hope when the moment comes, you'll say that I did it all. I did it all.
After spending a month overseas and meeting the most amazing social entrepreneurs, the most important thing that I discovered on this journey was that every single person has the ability to become a change maker. The question is, how will you change the world?
I owned every second that this world could give. I saw so many places, the things that I did. With every broken bone, I swear I live. Hope that you spend your